Have you ever caught yourself doing the exact same thing again and again and wondered, why do I keep doing this? Maybe you reread the same message 5 times before pressing send. Maybe you reach for your phone every time your work becomes uncomfortable. Or maybe you keep saying yes when every part of you wanted to say no. Most people notice these moments, then immediately give themselves a name. I'm lazy. I'm weak. I'm indecisive. I'm just like this. But what if? The biggest mistake isn't the behavior. What if it's the label you've been placing on yourself? Psychiatrist Daniel Siegel describes a powerful psychological idea. When we accurately name what's happening inside our mind, we create enough distance to observe it instead of automatically becoming it. Think about that for a moment. A feeling doesn't disappear because you gave it a name. A habit doesn't magically stop because you described it. So why does naming matter? Because your brain treats unnamed experiences like one tangled knot. Everything feels connected. Everything feels personal. But the moment you describe what is actually happening, your attention shifts. You're no longer trapped inside the experience. You're looking at it. Imagine walking through a city where none of the streets have names. You could still move around. You could still reach your destination. But explaining where you are or finding your way back would become surprisingly difficult. The city never changed. Only your understanding of it did. Your mind works in a remarkably similar way. When a repeated behavior has no name, it quietly becomes part of your identity. It stops feeling like something you do. It starts feeling like who you are. That's why people often say, I am anxious. I am lazy. I am bad with money. I always overreact. Notice something important. Those aren't observations. They're identities. And identities are incredibly difficult to change. Patterns are different. Patterns can be observed. Patterns can be questioned. Patterns can be interrupted. The goal isn't to ask, who am I? The better question is, what is my mind trying to do right now? That one question changes the entire conversation. Because instead of judging yourself, you become curious. Instead of defending yourself, you begin investigating. And that's where real awareness begins. So let's make this practical. The next time your mind tells you, this is just who I am, pause. For a few seconds, replace the identity with a description. Don't name yourself, name the pattern. Because what you can't name quietly controls you. What you can name, you can finally begin to understand. Let's see what this looks like in everyday life. Imagine reading the same email again and again before pressing send. Most people say, I'm just indecisive. Instead, try describing the pattern. You might call it the perfection shield. Not because you're trying to be perfect, because your mind is trying to remove every possible mistake before taking action. The name isn't judging you. It's explaining what the pattern is trying to protect. Now imagine reaching for your phone the moment your work becomes difficult. Instead of saying, I have no discipline, you might call it friction escape. The problem isn't the phone. The pattern is your mind escaping the discomfort of the task in front of you. Or imagine someone asks you for another favor. You already know you don't have the time, but you still say yes instead of thinking, I'm a pushover. You might call that pattern reassurance seeking. Your mind is protecting immediate approval, even when it quietly costs you your own energy. Imagine an argument begins, and without thinking, you shut down completely. Instead of saying, "I'm bad at conflict," you might call it the withdrawal guard. Your mind is trying to protect itself from emotional overload. Or imagine standing in a queue, waiting for only a few seconds. Before you even realize it, your phone is already in your hand. Instead of saying, "I'm addicted," you might describe it as the quiet reflex, a learned response to silence or boredom. Notice what's happening. None of these names insult you. None of them become your identity. They're simply descriptive labels that help you recognize what your mind is trying to accomplish. The goal isn't to find the perfect name. The goal is to stop calling the pattern me, because identity closes the conversation. Observation opens it. So here's how to use this tomorrow. The next time you notice yourself repeating something, don't rush to fix it. Don't promise yourself you'll never do it again. Simply pause and ask one question. What pattern am I looking at? Then give it the clearest, most descriptive name you can. Not to criticize yourself, not to excuse yourself, simply to understand it. Because every time you name a pattern, you interrupt automatic behavior for just a moment. And sometimes, one moment of awareness is enough to make a different choice. You may still repeat the pattern. That's normal. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is recognition. Because every pattern you've ever changed was once invisible. Then it became noticeable. Then it received a name. Only then could it become something you influenced, instead of something that quietly influenced you. You don't change a pattern by fighting it. You change it by seeing it clearly enough to name it. This episode is one chapter in the Awareness Series. Each chapter helps you understand, analyze, and apply one psychological principle to everyday life. If this is your first episode, start from episode 1. Every chapter builds on the one before it. If you'd like to keep decoding the hidden patterns behind everyday behavior, subscribe and join us for the next chapter. Next time, we'll look beyond the pattern and uncover the people, environments, and invisible influences that quietly keep many of these patterns alive. Most people go through life being read the decoded mind out.